what's up GameLeap? It's the Jizz. Hope you're all looking forward to Season 12, and in today's video, I'm going to help you out by revealing the 20 most broken champions for the upcoming 1123. And here's the thing guys, unlike other sites who speak generically about champions, over the last couple of days I've been doing that much research into how the changes will impact certain champions and classes, so these countdowns you know are legit. You will get a ton of information as to why these champs will be busted in the new meta, but there will of course be some champions flying under the radar, and that's going to be our next video. So make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on that upload and the rest of our preseason content, and let's get into it. Now coming in at number 20 for next patch, this is the first AD carry of the countdown, and this is Ashe. Now why is Ashe in this countdown? Simply because of the new lethal tempo. So you're getting attack speed for each auto attack against an enemy champion, and because Ashe's auto attacks slow the enemy champions, getting to 6 stacks, which is the maximum number, this is very achievable, and this is going to give you extra attack range. So for an AD carry with already good range and an 8cc, this is going to make Ashe very oppressive in the bot lane in 1123. But maybe one champion Ashe doesn't want to play against, this is Malphite coming in at number 19, and it doesn't really matter how you play Malphite. If you want to play him with the new Everfrost and Horizon Focus, or if you want to play him tank with the new Frostfire Gauntlet, Demonic Embrace and Abyssal Mask, it doesn't really matter what you go, this champion is just going to win games. Now just a quick note here, the new Horizon Focus is giving you HP and ability haste now, which is really good for Malphite, and the passive, which is almost like a mini Deathfire Grasp, is activating off slows, not just hard CC. So this will work off your Everfrost slow, your Q slow, so there is a lot of potential and a bit of variety for playing Malphite in 1123, so he has to make it onto this countdown. Now another champion who has a bit of variety about him, this is a Mumu coming in at number 18, and whether you play a Mumu in the jungle or in the support role, next patch, because Sunfire Aegis is getting buffed, so there's more armor, there's more magic resist, and there's now HP in the mythic passive, and because the new mythic Evan Shroud for supports is coming in, which is just 2500 gold on the passive, so if you immobilize an enemy champion with your bandage toss or with your ultimate, these champions are going to take increased damage by your teammates. So for a Mumu, you can probably envision how good this is going to be, and just like tank Malphite, you can probably throw Demonic Embrace in there because the new Dark Pact passive, this is transferring some of the HP you will get from Sunfire Aegis into AP, and because the burn will be there as well, a Mumu is definitely going to be a force in the first patch of the preseason. But let's say you want to play a lane dominant top laner. Well, the champion to do it on next patch is certainly going to be Jace with First Strike as your keystone. Now this new rune guys means that when you attack an enemy champion, you're going to deal increased damage to that champion for 3 seconds, and that increased damage you do is actually going to be gold for you. So if you think about a champion like Jace whose short trading is unreal, like it's really hard to retaliate, so most if not all of the time you're going to get that first hit in and just get free gold because no one can retaliate to you jumping on them with that hammer and knocking them away. So this is just free damage and free gold for Jace in the top lane, and because Eclipse got buffed next patch, so it's 100 gold cheaper, and also if you're in melee form, the passive is only on a 6-second cooldown. So Jace next patch looks super strong. But maybe one champion guys who's going to be better than Jace, maybe even with First Strike, this is Senna. Now whether you're playing Senna in the top lane, yes you heard me correctly, in the top lane with Titanic Hydra, Frostfire Gauntlet and Demonic Embrace, or if you're playing her in the bot lane as an AD carry or support, that build I just mentioned and I showed it in yesterday's video is going to be busted on her. Because you have AP scaling in your kit, with Demonic Embrace and all the HP you get from Titanic, Demonic itself and then Frostfire Gauntlet, your Qs, your ultimate, you are going to deal so much damage. And you might even consider going Grasp the Undying and that Resolve Tree because you can get more HP from this, which will get converted into AD from Titanic and AP from Demonic. And for Senna as well guys, with the new Frostfire Gauntlet, your auto attacks are actually dealing AoE magic damage, and Demonic Embrace's burn procs off of this area. So I cannot leave Senna off this countdown guys. But starting off the top 15 is going to be one of the best AD assassins next patch, and this is Zed. Now I just want to say guys, I want you to rush the new Axiom Arc, which is the new lethality item, which is costing 3000 gold, but you're getting 25 ability haste right off the bat. And remember the passive you're getting, this is refunding 25% of your ultimate's cooldown, so if you do get a kill or an assist, that cooldown is going to be quartered. Now in the mid to late game where you're probably going to be fighting at least 2 to 3 enemy champions at a time, if you get 3 assists let's say, your ultimate's cooldown is going to be reduced by 75%. This is absolutely nuts. Now what's also good for Zed is that Dustblade and Prowler's Claw, 2 items you can go, these are 100 gold cheaper and their actives are also dealing more damage. So 1123 is going to be a really good patch for Zed, and it's also going to be a really good patch for one melee top laner who is going to beat down his opponents, and this is Set, and it's all because of the new lethal tempo hitting the Rift. So for melee champions, you're getting 15% attack speed each time you auto attack an enemy champion. 15%. This stacks up to 6 times, so in max stacks, you get 90% attack speed, and you also get extra range on your auto attacks. So for Set, who is already really good at level 1, how can anyone contest him? And I also want to recommend playing support Set just with lethal tempo. So if anyone face checks you, they are going to die and get one shot. This would be particularly good if you have a champion who can jump in with you, so you're AD carry. It might be a Tristana or a Samira. This is just going to obliterate opponents in the bot lane. So Set in the top lane or as a support in 11-23, guys, definitely one to keep an eye out for. Now coming in at unlucky 13, but let me just say, Miss Fortune is not going to be unlucky next patch because the interaction between her bullet time and the new rune First Strike, you are going to get so much free gold from this. Just pressing R has never been more profitable. So each time you have your First Strike, and remember, the debuff is lasting 3 seconds. That's as long as your ultimate. So each time you're ulting with your First Strike ready, you're dealing extra damage, and that extra damage is going to be gold. And because Miss Fortune's ultimate is so easy to land on champions, this is going to amount to a massive amount of gold in pretty much every game. And what's also good for Miss Fortune is that Eclipse is 100 gold cheaper, so this means that first item spike is going to be even more attainable, and you will be hitting this earlier and just accelerating your progress in a game. But you might not be an AD carry player. Let's say you're a top laner again, and you still want to dominate, but you're just not a Jace player. Well, how about picking Teemo for 11-23? And just like Miss Fortune and Jace, we are going to be running First Strike. Now, if you think about First Strike on Teemo in the top lane, you're always going to attack the enemy champion first, so the rune is always going to activate. And think about the tick damage as well. With your poison, this is going to translate to extra damage because of your rune, and therefore extra gold. And what's also pretty red hot about Teemo with First Strike, we looked at in yesterday's video, with your mushrooms, if you have your First Strike up, this is just like free passive gold. So if an enemy champion cross map runs into one of your shrooms, they are going to proc your First Strike, and you are going to get gold from pretty much being AFK. But the downside to Teemo, Miss Fortune, and maybe Jace running this is that you do miss out on the precision tree, which is great for fighting. But running First Strike, potentially with Futures Market and Footwear and then Cosmic Insight, this should be viable enough to make use of this keystone. Now ahead of Teemo, guys, we have one mid laner who is very scary on paper for 11-23 because of all the buffs coming into AP items. But for Kassadin, it's not going to be as bad as you think, but he will definitely be OP. So with the new Everfrost, 400 gold cheaper, so your mythic spike is earlier. That's excellent. And Void Staff, if you get this in the mid to late game, it's giving you more magic penetration. Even though it's costing 100 more gold, it's probably still worth. And you also have the new item Shadow Flame, which is 3000 gold, giving you 100 AP off the bat and HP, which are really good stats. And this would be a great item into those champions who have innate shield. But here's the thing, guys, with Kassadin, the new Saris Embrace doesn't actually sound that great. Yes, okay, you're getting the heal back from it, but as Kassadin, it's almost like you overheal and won't need this as much as other champions. And instead of getting ability power from the passive, which is what you're getting now, you're getting ability haste, which is not as good. But here's the counter to that argument as well, guys. With the new Saris and the new Cosmic Drive as well, which is giving you 30 ability haste right off the bat and percentage movement speed and ability power in its passive, it's like you don't actually need that much damage as Kassadin because you deal so much anyway. So the fact these items are giving you more survivability and utility, this could actually be a heck of a lot better. But just because you're losing the AP from Saris, Kassadin is not going to be in the top 10. Now speaking of the top 10, coming in at number 10 is another mid laner, and this is Anivia. Now for Anivia, I think the changes are great. For Saras giving you HP back, this is amazing because you can just leave your ultimate there in teamfights and you will get back your HP. Now what's also nice for Anivia is the Cosmic Drive percentage movement speed. If you compare Anivia to Kassadin, the movement speed is way more valuable because your mobility is so low. And we also have to consider the new item called Crown of the Shattered Queen. So this item is basically giving you a Malzahar and Banshee's Veil passive combined, and for a champion like Anivia where you are kind of susceptible to burst damage, this is just going to keep you alive for longer and pretty much untargetable in teamfights. Like this combined with your own passive, how are you going to die in the mid to late game? You could also talk about the new Demonic Embrace and how you can use the HP from this item because Anivia with that tick damage, and the fact you're probably going to build items which are giving you HP, so the new Cosmic Drive, maybe Horizon Focus, which is proccing off slows. There are so many options for Anivia, so she comes in at number 10. Now we're heading back to the top lane, guys, for number 9, and this is Jax. Now Jax, quite simply, with lethal tempo. He is one of those top lane champions that relies so much on auto attacks. This makes Jax an even scarier scaler. Now in the early game, there are certainly going to be better abusers of this. So Set, for example, Trundle, maybe Darius. But when Jax gets to his Divine Sunderer and starts scaling into a game, there is going to be no one better in the top lane, I'm telling you. Divine Sunderer, remember, is the best bruiser mythic, and Jax is one of the best exploiters of this, so Jax has to be on this countdown. Now coming in at number 8, this is probably one of the best junglers of the patch, and this is Rek'Sai. Now what's great for Rek'Sai Prowler's Claw is down 100 gold, and also Scuttle Crab, this is giving you 80% reduced experience. So for early game gankers who might waste time if a gank doesn't work out, this is great for Rek'Sai knowing that the enemy jungler isn't going to get that far ahead of you. So you can just hit level 3 ASAP and just roam around the map. And I should also mention that Prowler's Claw, the active, just like I did for Zed, this is dealing more damage. So when you come out of that burrowed form, your combo is going to be insane, and Rek'Sai will definitely be, because of all of this, one of the scariest junglers to go against in 11.23. Now the best AD carry for next patch, guys, is coming in at number 7, and this is Xayah. And who would have thought that Xayah, after being one of the worst champions in the entire season 11, makes it to number 1 for the preseason? And the reason is simple, guys. All the Q buffs that came in recent patches have led to the best Xayah players in the world maxing their Q first and building Eclipse. So you're playing Lethality Xayah and pairing this with Aerie as your keystone. And because Eclipse is costing 100 less gold next patch, Xayah, if she wasn't already the best AD carry, is definitely going to be the best for 11.23. And you never know, maybe you can actually make use of that Axiom Arc item coming in, which is reducing your ultimate's cooldown. And because your ultimate is on such a high cooldown, this could be incredibly valuable. Now I mentioned Miss Fortune earlier, guys, who could abuse first strike with her ultimate and her range. Well, another champion who can do this next patch is Lux. Now remember, without this first strike rune, Lux is already an amazing champion. She got buffed towards the end of season 11, so at the moment she's in a really good spot. But with first strike giving you gold for the extra damage you deal on enemy champions, this is on a 60-second cooldown at level 6, so as soon as you hit this, you can just use your ultimate when you have your first strike and just permanently get gold. Now in the mid to late game where champions start grouping up, you are just going to funnel so much gold from this keystone, especially because your other abilities have amazing range as well. It should be really easy to combo and just get this free gold. And just like Anivia, the new Crown of the Shattered Queen mythic pretty much makes you unkillable for any bursty assassin in the mid lane, and you might even consider the new Void Staff, the new Shadow Flame. There is just so much going for Lux next patch. Now starting off the top 5, guys, we're going to the support role for this one, and the best support for next patch is going to be Rel. And if you are enjoying our preseason content, make sure you let us know by leaving a like down below. And for Rel, just like I mentioned for Amumu, the new Evan Shroud mythic, because your teammates are going to be doing more damage to champions you CC. So if you think of Rel with her W, her E, and her Magnet Storm, just like Lux, Rel already is a really strong champion, and she'll probably be pick banned, to be honest. She will be that good. Now speaking of pick ban, this champion coming in at number 4, I said when I talked about Zed that there was an AD assassin with an AoE ultimate that would be super broken with the new Axiom Arc item. This of course is Qiyana. Now maybe you can substitute Talon in here as well because of his AoE ultimate, but for Qiyana, guys, I just think it's more impactful in teamfights and more consistent. And I think because Qiyana is less one-dimensional than Talon, she is just going to be giga busted with this. Prowler's Core is dealing more damage and 100 less gold. Like, this is also unreal. The only bad thing is that Ghostblade is costing 100 more gold, but all in all, guys, it's going to be an unreal patch for these AD assassins in the mid lane, and Qiyana will be that premier AD assassin. But one champion who might negate Qiyana's threat, this is the best jungler for 11.23, and this is Zac. Now I talked about for Senna, Frostfire Gauntlet and Demonic Embrace. Well, if you run this on Zac and then maybe pair this with the new Abyssal Mask, which is reducing nearby enemies' magic resist, you are going to one-shot champions despite being a tank. They're not going to kill you because you're a tank. You know, because Zac at the moment, you have to rely on your teammates a bit. Well, because of Demonic's new passive, you are the damage dealer and also the damage soaker. So Zac, I'm calling it now. I think he will have the highest win rate out of any champion pretty much across every elo in 11.23. But one champion who will be better than Zac and all the rest of these champions I've mentioned, this is Camille. And no surprises here. Divine Sundra is still going to be just as OP. Camille is just going to be just as OP. And because there's more HP in the game with Sunfire Rages, Turbo Chemtank is giving HP in its mythic passive, a bunch of AP items got HP, Camille with Spellblade and Divine Sundra, you are just going to shred people. So for another patch, Camille is going to be the standout top laner and a top 2 champion. So who on earth is beating all of these? Well, the number 1 champion, guys, for 11.23 is a mid laner, and this champion with first choice, with Leandri's Anguish, Rylar's Crystal Scepter, and Demonic Embrace, is going to deal a ridiculous amount of damage and accumulate that much gold from the first choice keystone that Malzahar has to be at number 1. Just like Teemo, the tick damage in your kit, in your E, this is just going to give you free gold without you even knowing, and when you have your ultimate up and you can lock down enemy champions, the burn from Leandri's, Demonic, your E as well, the gold you get from this keystone is just going to be so stupid, and because Malzahar is such an amazing scaler anyway, this is just going to accelerate that process so you get to your mid-late game items before anyone else on the Rift. So those are the top 20 champions, guys, for 11.23. Let me know in the comments who you think the most OP champion is going to be next patch. And before leaving, make sure you check out the GameLeap website. We upload up to 20 challenger tier videos every week for our subscribers, and these are champion courses, they're champion guides, they're high elo VOD analyses where we break down what the best players in the world like Faker do on a regular basis that you have to start doing in your games. So get that exclusive access by signing up, and until tomorrow's video about those underrated champions, champions. This has been the Jizz.